Welcome, low ego action heroes. I am wondering why I have not received. There it is. I was going to say, YouTube didn't tell me my stream is running, so we might be on a long delay today. But welcome, everybody. I'm Debbie Levitt, and this is Delta CX. We are a full service CX and UX consultancy, and our Friday streams are usually a short stream where I'm just reacting to some things that you have sent in to me. If you would like to have me react to something, feel free. Hello, Charlene and Shrivas. Feel free to send it to deltacx.link/reaction, and I will put it on the Friday list. So let's jump in. Let me get my screen ready and we'll flip over to it. Okay, let's press all the buttons. This should flip us over. Yes. Okay, looks good. All right, so this is one that was sent in from one of the low ego action heroes. It was a job on LinkedIn, which is no longer accepting applicants after 30 applicants, and it was called UX UI graduate. Now, when I see UX UI graduate, I generally assume that this is going to be a job for somebody who maybe has completed a university program, so they're a recent graduate, and I would expect it to be UX and UI, so probably not research, probably the usual UX UI, or of course you can see down here they call it UI UX. But this got interesting because they were looking for someone to deliver engaging digital experiences. Sure. Business requirements, voice of the customer, user journeys, feedback, usability findings, hopefully from a real researcher if you're not doing it. So Shriva says, I plead guilty. I feel like a hero now that you called me one. Shriva sent this in. So it starts out sounding like your typical UX, UI, UX product designer job where they want you to know sketch and envision and all these things. But it really gets bizarre when you get down to background and experience. And it says, let me see if I can show you more of this on the screen. Must have or are expected to gain at least a 2-to-1. I didn't know what that meant. Do you want me to gain weight? I don't know. I'm doing fine with that now. I'm gaining weight for sure. I don't know what that means. But I was really curious, and I think so was the person who sent it in, when it said working knowledge of UI UX software, whatever that is, skills should include HTML, CSS, Java, Python, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, UE4, and Unity, 3D modeling, CAD data conversion, and some things that would be beneficial but not essential is photoreal lighting and rendering, polygon modeling, UV unwrapping, animation, digital retouching and compositing, an understanding of form, So basically, this is 3D designer and 3D animator, as far as I can tell, and they've just kind of slapped UX UI on this. Now, there's one of two things probably going on here. One is copy paste. One is they had a 3D modeler job and somebody forgot to take that out and they were just started throwing in a couple of UI UX phrases and didn't realize they didn't take out the other stuff. The other is this is your typical ridiculous, inappropriate, off the charts unicorn where somehow, even though you're going to need to do all of this stuff, and that's at least one full-time job, you're also going to have to do the 3D modeling. Now, because they don't mention the 3D modeling and animation here, I assume it could be a copy-paste mistake, but it's pretty unclear, and I wouldn't be surprised if they stop accepting applications because the applications they were getting didn't match what they expected, and they might have realized the mistake in their job. Charlene says, what? It's grad and they need experience for all that shit? And on the other hand, it's UX and UI and not animation design. Shriva says, what I find funnier is the line below, you are required to be flexible as situations change. Oh, that's usually flexible approach with the ability to self-motivate. Let's see, is there a lot of flexible in here? this is not an exhaustive list, and you are required to be flexible in your approach to carrying out your duties, which may change from time to time to reflect changes in the company's approach to a culture of continuous improvement. Hey, everybody. Continuous improvement doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries or standards or job descriptions. Continuous improvement doesn't mean that a UX designer is suddenly a CAD modeler or something else. Those two things don't have to go together. I think ultimately the message here is we don't know what we want and you better change with us. Well, that is a future unknown. I don't want to apply for a future unknown. I want to apply for the job at hand. So thank you to Shrivas for sending it over because it was weird. All right. We also had this one bouncing around behind the scenes. And again, I'm opening these in a private browser so that I'm not signed in and in cookies. Hello, Seth. Hi, Seth. Seth just says, welp. This one is somebody's Medium article on UX Planet. Now, of course, you could say, stop right there, Deb. Now I'm going to keep going. And it says, the difference between product designers and UX designers, a comprehensive guide. Now, this is when I tell people that it sounds like your opinion is being framed as fact. When we say the definitive guide, the comprehensive guide, we leave little room for other opinions or voices or perspectives. So I think if you are going to write something, be careful about using a phrase like that because it can make it sound like you are closed to hearing other things. And of course, if you are, then you're just being honest. But hey, so as you might imagine, this is someone who I don't know, who is, and so I don't know if they have a tremendous background in this or they're new to this. We can look them up on LinkedIn. That stuff's easy. They're going to tell you the difference between product designers and UX designers. Now, let me quickly tell you that based on all the job descriptions that I'm seeing, not my personal opinion on the matter, based on the job descriptions I'm seeing, there is no difference. In general, a UX designer is unfortunately, right now, somebody who can wireframe, prototype, maybe make a nice customer journey map and make it all pretty. And hopefully you use Figma, Sketch, Adobe XD, and InVision. I see that for product designers. I see that for UX designers. And generally, they tend to be visual designers who like the idea of wireframing. Not always, typically. So what this guy is going to try to say is a difference between this and this, we have to just see what it says. So what is the difference? So let's use our visual hierarchy, which we've learned in our micro lesson, to just look for bolded stuff and italicized stuff and headlines and try to get the meat of what's going on here. So here's something that's bolded, and it says, the primary responsibility of the UX designer is to make sure that the users can easily do what they set out to do in the digital part of the product. I would also say that that's true for a product designer. I would say anybody with the word designer or architect is trying to help people improve and complete their task. But here's where it gets a little weird. Product designers and UX designers use different tools to do their jobs. Product design is typically done in a CAD program like AutoCAD, while UX designs are in Figma, Adobe XD, or Sketch. Okay, well, this just got really weird really fast because it sounds like this person is using the definition of product design that is true, that some people are designing physical products, like maybe for Nissan Motors Corporation. But if we were to look at LinkedIn and look at jobs and put in product designer, chances are we're going to see more people talking about digital product design than physical product design. So it's not that a product designer never uses CAD, but a product designer is only using CAD if this is a physical object, if you are going to design a better cup. If you are a product designer in a digital environment and that term is being used, you're not using CAD. You're using the same things as everything else. Product designers have more of an incentive to see the big picture because they need to consider all the parts working together as one product. And the same would be true for a digital product designer. So that would be about someone who needs to see all of the aspects of a digital product to make sure that they're building the right things for customers. Charlene says, is this person confusing product design with product designer designing things like chair or physical product? And Shrivas is crying. Hopefully those emojis are bouncing around. I think so. I think that this person somehow decided that the term product designer can only be used for physical products, and that if you work in digital products, you must only call yourself a UX designer. This is why I talk a lot on this channel about the naming of things and how the naming of things is hurting us more than it's helping us. Seth says, physical product design, I think, is generally referred to as industrial design in job ads. It might be. All we have to do is open up LinkedIn, and which I still have open over here, and go for worldwide here. Where's the world? Other world kingdom. I like the sound of that. I want to live in the world kingdom. What if we put product designer? Good night, everybody. Product designer. Let's try that. And product designer at Spotify, Netflix, Disney, Apple. So even at Apple. So Apple's going to pay you $1 squillion, but what do they expect you to do? Designing desktop applications. Okay, so this is somebody who's going to work on an Apple desktop application. Rapid prototyping in Flash. What year is this, Apple? Hello? What? Flash? Really? Didn't we all kill that? And didn't Apple lead the way on that? Capable of working in a loosely structured organization. Y'all know what that means. What does that mean, people listening live? What does that mean? Yeah, so I think that while product design for physical products is a thing and product design for digital products is a thing, it sounds like this person really went in a strange direction. Product designers are more often than not UX designers, but they work primarily on the feel and usability of a product. Hands up everybody who sees themselves as a UX designer who is not working on the feel and usability of a product. Seth says red flag. All right, Seth, I will fly my red flag for you. Shriva says, say what? Flash? Charlene says, when I was doing my bachelor, we had graphic design, animation design, product design, and UX design as 4 main fields. So here we go. Product designers look and feel, sketching, wireframing, and design tools, knowledgeable in graphic design, color theory, and typography, and measuring KPIs. Now he's going to contrast this against UX designer. Ease and enjoyment that abusers have. All right. Low ego action heroes, how do you shepherd enjoyment and ease? We do that by being responsible for the look and feel. We work to ensure that everything is easy, intuitive, and straightforward so nobody feels lost or confused. Are you saying the product designer doesn't do that? Anyway, I am done with this. This doesn't make sense at all. And as for it being some sort of definitive and comprehensive guide, I think it unfortunately shows comprehensive misunderstanding of both of these things. They're ultimately not different. And if the deciding voice on this should be the jobs and the job descriptions that are out there. We can say all we want that product designers are a bologna sandwich and UX designers are a small piece of plastic left on a shelf. But if that's not what the rest of the world is saying, what does it matter? That's why if you've read my article about the CX and UX path splitting and things like that, we can talk about UX all we want, but most companies think UX is making wireframes and pretty screens from artsy-fartsy people. We are having trouble changing that even with evangelism. Shriva says, I'm curious who that industry veteran is. Charlene says, I'm going to comment on this article. Yeah, you all have fun. So the last one for today, because we usually just run about 20 minutes on this, that was sent to me was Lean UX is taking over, and here's why. And first of all, we need to start breaking this down. And if you've watched this show before, you know that I tell you the first thing you should do with people who have written articles is put them into LinkedIn so we can see who they are and what their background is. Because do we want to hear UX advice or UX how-to or task analysis from someone who has not worked in our industry for some years, someone who is either just learning or is guessing? And so Charlene says, boo. Well, Charlene, it gets better. So this Nick Babbage person, it says UX designer who loves psychology, cinema, advertising, and writing. If you do some Googling, you will find Nick writing a lot of articles and blog posts. But if you find him on LinkedIn, you'll find that he's actually an engineer. And he doesn't work in UX, and it looks like he's never worked in UX. So I would challenge this person to say, what are you doing? This doesn't make sense. And how can you say Lean UX is taking over? Are you utilizing it? But are you utilizing it as an engineer? Now, we talked just on Monday, 5 days ago, episode 115, and you can find that in the live stream podcasts episode playlists on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. You can find in episode 115, I walk through the core of Lean UX, and I talk about how Lean UX comes into organizations mostly through newbies who love the idea of not doing any work themselves, and engineers who love the idea of controlling UX processes and teams and outcomes. So Seth says God Help himself couldn't get Lean UX to take over. Yeah, it's still not a thing, and Jeff's claiming he's going to come out with version 3 of the book, edition 3, but I assume it's not going to change from its core fundamentals that I spent a half hour talking about on Monday. So go see episode 115. You can even watch it at 2x so that I'm talking very fast. And Darren says, Darren says from the previous article, the industry expert the person cites isn't an industry expert and has no UX experience. Again, this is just the magic of putting people's names into LinkedIn. So this person says, what is Lean UX and how can you use it? Now, what I have found in currently 100% of cases of articles that I've read about Lean UX is the people who write about Lean UX actually haven't done it. They actually haven't put it into play at their workplace as the model suggests by the book. Typically, they read the book, they like the idea, and they're writing articles about why it's so good. But they haven't actually done it. And of course, I would challenge people to do these things before they're writing, it's so great and it's going to take over. So again, we can just browse through this and we can take a look at what this person claims this is. And basically, this person kind of backs up what I said on Monday with what Lean UX is. And they talk about, it talks about deep understanding of end users. But of course, if you saw my show or if you've read the book, you know that Lean UX does not want a deep understanding of users. You work a lot from guesses and assumptions, and you are told to never use specialist researchers because that would be outsourcing. So collaborative design, yes, we talked about that on Monday in episode 115, that everything in Lean UX is collaborative, but I would challenge the word collaborative because there comes a point in time at which collaboration, which if we just go by the Latin means working together, doesn't mean working together anymore. It means design by committee or terrible workplace codependency. Shriva says, the point of UX is to be comprehensive. The principle behind Lean is doing just enough, just in time, if I recall right. Actually, Shrivas, I will be talking next Wednesday on what the real definition of Lean is, and it sounds like I'm going to blow your mind. So come on back next Wednesday for the second half of what I started on Monday. Episode 116 will be the other half of that, and you will be very surprised to learn what Lean actually is before the Lean startup came around and bastardized it. Krishna says they're so misleading, especially for a newbie who gets lost in these spaces of self-proclaimed experts. Seth, thanks for switching over to YouTube, says, I call these people framework bandits. Absolutely zero practical application expertise or coherent method. For Rizzle. Thank you, Seth. I totally agree. Darren says, I always refer to Lean UX as UX Light. I take a page from Saturday Night Live and I say Lean UX is neither lean nor UX. And we talked about that a bit on Monday. I'll be talking more about it on Wednesday. Solomon says, I'm not convinced lean anything is compatible with traditional UX process. Why is everyone trying to go fast? Speed is irrelevant if we're heading in the wrong direction. Solomon, because the original definition of lean wasn't go fast. That only happened after, as far as I can tell, the Lean Startup book, which I think was around, 2012, 2011? Before that, lean had a very different definition. And I'm going to be talking next week about how we utilize that original definition for our advantage and for where we're trying to go with our work and our outcomes. Darren says, perfectly stated, neither lean nor UX. So remember that this guy's article basically says the same thing that I just said on Monday. The difference is he says it's great, and I'm saying it's wrong and it's non-viable. So, and in fact, he's actually using word for word some of the things that are in the book. I recognize some of these things as quotes, and he's not even telling you that these are quotes. So that's a little dirty. But the problem is that Lean UX isn't agile and isn't lean. Now, so on Monday in episode 115, I set us up for what's wrong with Lean UX. Next week, I'm going to talk about what is at the core of agile and what is at the core of lean, and how do we use those core definitions, even if our company is using fake agile and fake lean. How do we lean back on these core definitions so that we can do better UX and CX works at our company? Now, I don't know why, but my system always writes LinkedIn user for some people's names, but since it says scorecard baby, I'm going to go with Larry Marine chiming in from over there. And Larry's right, as always. Lean UX has been available to the human race for almost 10 years now, and I've never heard of a company that was using it by choice. I have heard of some companies using a variation of Lean UX because it was forced on them through engineering frameworks like Safe Agile and Scrum.org. But I will be talking on Wednesday about how we break engineering's hold over us. We're going to talk very specifically about that and how really that is part of the key to getting the seat at the table, and the understanding that UX wants is to break the false control that engineering has over us. So I know no UX department that chose to do Lean UX. I do know some UX newbies, as we talked about on Monday, who think Lean UX is a good way to go, but I mostly chalk that up to the idea that because Lean UX wants everything to be a team sport and everything done by committee, it's great for a newbie because a newbie doesn't have to know anything about UX. You just have to keep calling meetings and workshops, and everybody's going to do it together, and there won't be accountability. Nobody will know how good or bad the newbie is at their job, and therefore you can be terrible at your job. And so Lean UX seems like a good way to go because no one will notice. So this is what I am reacting to this week. That is it for our short stream. As I was saying, if you would like to donate something you have found to the reaction pile, you can send it in to deltacx.link/reaction, and I will put it on the Friday list. We do this every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. If you are, of course, in South Africa, then it is 6:30 right now, though that will change later this year. Any other comments or questions before we wrap up our short stream? And remind everybody, come back Wednesday, July 7th. I will be doing how we make UX and CX truly agile and lean based on the correct definitions of agile and lean, and not some of these fake bastardizations that unfortunately have crept into our companies. Seth says Steve Blank. I don't know who that is. More information, please. What's going on here? Let's see. Oh, and I'm just getting an email from. Oh, so yeah, also I'm getting an email, and I just want to remind everybody, please do go back and watch episode 115. It is 2 hours long. It is a commitment, and I thank you. But it was either that or write another book. So I've got I have 4 hours of content that I broke into two streams, episode 115 and next week's episode 116. And these are going to be really important to fixing the problems that we have at nearly all of our workplaces. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm shooting for on this one, and I hope you will join me for it, even though the streams are admittedly long. Think of it as the audiobook for the book that doesn't exist. Seth says, you made a comment about how lean wasn't a thing. Oh, was it Steve Blank's book? No, so lean has existed for decades. It was originally created by Toyota when Toyota was looking at their manufacturing facility and their factory and looking for ways to reduce waste, reduce defects, improve internal efficiencies, and improve customer outcomes. And they came up with something that they called lean. And so there is lean way predating the lean startup. The lean startup was Eric, I don't know if you pronounce his name, Rice, I don't know, R-I-E-S. I guess if it were German, it would be Ries, but I don't know. So the lean startup book, in my opinion, seems to be, and if you have an earlier version, then please correct me. If there's something before the lean startup book that changed the definition of lean to mean just do the least you can as fast as you can and move to the next step. Because Toyota's definition of lean, which I'll be talking about on Wednesday, doesn't look or sound like that at all. Lean is about reducing waste, trimming the fat. Lean is not about doing the least you can to just check a box and move to the next thing. So I am not familiar with Steve Blank's book. I'm going to have to quickly Google that to see what you're talking about. Steve Blank. Let's see, what book is that? Steve Blank's book for startups. I'm not familiar with these. The lean, well, he recommends lean that he's written. I must be on the wrong page. But as far as I can tell, and I'm happy to be wrong about this, all roads lead to the lean startup as the book that seems to have redefined lean incorrectly as just do the least you can and just go fast. But unfortunately, that sounds good. And companies who like to pretend they're startups go, yeah, do what that book says. That book says just like go fast and guess at shit and figure out later if it's good or not. Yes, do that. Well, that might work for two bros in a garage in Silicon Valley, but your company's not that. Let's see. LinkedIn user. So I don't know who wrote this. Was this like I gotta open up LinkedIn? Who is writing me these things? I have to go to my own stream, then I have to open it up. LinkedIn, you're so bad. Oh, it is Larry Marine. Okay. I followed Eric Ries in a conference and can report that his presentation was more like a Jared Spool shock jock presentation. Yeah, again, I think these people have enjoyed too much power for too long, and they're using their power to hurt our industry. And we have to take that back. And that's what I'll be talking about on Wednesday. So we've gone a half hour. That's 10 minutes longer than I expected, but thanks to everybody for hanging out. Please mark your calendars for Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Italy time, here live on the YouTube channel and also on LinkedIn, though the YouTube channel is way more fun. Also, YouTubers, I added some new emoji. You should be able to find some new emoji available. I don't know if they're available to everybody or just subscribers. It might just be subscribers. So like Charlene, you should see some new emoji available to you. Give them a test drive. And thanks to Stephanie Walter for creating them. They're not these emoji, but they are new emoji, little low ego action heroes emblems. We can try to run those. So yeah, come on back Wednesday, please, please, please. And this will be ultimately the watch party I suggest for your company, episode 115, episode 116 after I do it. even if you have to break it up into kind of multiple sections. Okay, we got the dog, but we didn't get the triangle. All right, we might have to fix that. Thank you, Ekta. Halfway there. All right, so I'm going to hit the road, but remember, everybody, be safe. Southern Hemisphere, stay warm and dry. Northern Hemisphere, stay cool. And yeah, sorry, these aren't coming up. We have badges. Yes, we have the badges, except they're not coming up on my face like they're supposed to. So I'll have to work on that. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Seth, great to see you here. Always Darren, Solomon, everybody, the whole gang. Good to see you. And Monday we're taking off because it's 4th of July holiday in America, but I'll see you Tuesday for office hours, Ask Me Anything. And then of course Wednesday for the much trumpeted episode 116 about making CX and UX agile and lean and getting that seat at the table. Thanks everybody and have a super weekend.
Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation